Hi, I'm your host Namuila and welcome to the Album Diaries. This is a space for people who still believe albums are meant to be experienced and not just shuffled through. Each episode is like a new diary entry where we explore the stories, emotions, and moments behind the music we love. From iconic albums to hidden gems, artist journeys to late night listening sessions, if music means a little more to you than just background noise, you're in the right place. So grab your headphones, settle in, and let's open today's entry. I'm going to start with a simple question. What album have you recently listened to start to finish? Lately or nowadays, we seem to skip, shuffle, scroll, and everything is basically short form content, right? But there is a rise in people's curiosity to actual human art, right? People are starting to crave connection and understanding. People are starting to crave artistic storytelling, and they're starting to crave essentially a storyline to follow. They want something to digest, to engulf, something to understand, something to follow from beginning to end, something that they can look at or listen to and relate to. I would like to think albums are a very good representation of that. During the time of the COVID, I remember Taylor Swift put out 2 albums that were beautifully written. In my opinion, I feel like Folklore is one of Taylor's best lyrical albums, but there was a dry spell in terms of having a good storyline. But I feel like people are getting back into wanting that more. To me, albums aren't just made to be background noise, they are built like stories. Albums are worlds. They are how artists tell their full stories, and they are soundtracks to emotional eras. We've been living in a very single-driven world that most people don't really listen to albums anymore. Someone may mention an artist and you may only know them from a single, but it's like, oh my goodness, you've just touched the tip of the iceberg. That artist is so diverse, and you can only understand that from being maybe in their fandom or something. And that's the magic that we miss as a society, is to understand music to its deepest form of creation, if that makes sense. When you start to listen to an artist, you really need to get into their world of understanding, and just even their evolution from the time they started their career to the time that you meet them. Listening to an album from start to finish, it reveals transitions and motives and emotional architecture. It really lets you feel what the artist felt in the order that they wanted you to. So studying even the track list of an album, it's very strategic. I don't think people understand when a musician is making a project. It's very well thought about. Even the most minute thing you may think, like a very random album cover that you may say it's a silly album cover, and they're like, oh no, I just put that there. Even that is a decision in itself. I hope this is making sense to someone, because we need to start to think of art and music and just the creative expression really deeply. It's very profound, and it just has my heart. You have no idea. And some albums are meant to be experienced, not just streamed. You don't just stream an album once and you're like, well, yeah, I listened to that album. You really need to experience it. If you've heard a song or a single and you're like, oh yeah, it is a good song, but it's if you listen to the full body of work, you will understand the piece that single plays in the entirety of that world of the album. So I'll give an example, some examples. Rumors by Fleetwood Mac. If you go and listen to the songs, you can hear the tension, you can hear the grit, you can hear the softness, you can hear the experimental aspects of it, the instruments, and it's just a whole other world. Even knowing the lore of the band makes you relate or understand the album in a totally different level. And that's where the whole thing of having or knowing music culture comes into play. When you know the music culture, you understand the lore behind certain songs or projects, and it makes you even just understand the artist and the song and the album in a very different manner. I spoke of Folklore by Taylor Swift. That's also a really good one. The Secret of Us by Gracie Abrams. That album genuinely carried me last year, 2025. The lyrical form of The Secret of Us is so beautiful. It's so plain yet so vague, very straightforward but also a bit shy, and very relatable, and very the things you think in your head is basically what she sang about. Especially, I'm going to talk about it from a girl point of view, a female point of view, of living in a world now that like dating is super hard. It's really hard, or having a crush is super hard, or feeling the feeling of loss or grief, stress, anxiety. She wrote it so beautifully, and you can relate and understand what she's talking about, and you feel so seen. And The Secret of Us has really made me love Gracie Abrams as an artist and see her depth, because I knew her from like a couple of singles. I Miss You, I'm Sorry, 21, Where Do We Go Now, Mess It Up, and like, yeah, I liked her songs, you know. But listening to a full project of hers, when I listened to The Secret of Us, I fell in love with her because I felt so seen by her, and I felt understood, and she was saying the things that I think, or the things that I'm even scared to say, she said them out loud. And from listening to that, I'm like, I'm curious about her other work. And then I went to listen to Good Riddance, and that album as well. So good. So good. And the songwriting is so honest and very true to her. And it's so good. Now, I would have never understood her as an artist, as a songwriter, if I never really went deep into her world and understood her as Gracie, and like went into her discography. Like, you guys, there's something so thrilling. I don't know. You really need to have a sense of, okay, the world would call it obsessive, right? I don't think it's obsessive. I would like to call that passion, especially people that are part of like fandom culture. If they like an artist and they're like, that's my ride or die. Like, to give examples, Arianators, Swifties, Beliebers, yeah, like being part of the Harry fandom as well. It's really you can't understand unless you're part of a fandom. If you have a favorite artist like that, if there's anyone I can ask if they have a favorite artist and they stand by that artist, like there's a reason why that's their favorite artist, right? They've listened to a song that has changed the perspective maybe of their lives, the perspective of how they see other people around them, or it's genuinely just changed their life and the way they think, or they listen to that song during a very specific time of their life that it brought the joy out of them, you know? They have reasons for loving that artist so much. And it's like, you can only understand going through someone's discography when you get to the point of you're curious about that artist, if that makes sense. You really need to love the art they're producing in order for you to go through their entire catalog of music. Honestly, it's like when you get a hit of it and then you're like, I just need to go for the next album and the next album. And it's so fun if you've listened to an artist and they've had like a 10-year career, and you have so much work that you can go through. If they released an album, let's say this year in 2026, and then you see they've got like 5 other albums before that, and getting to understand them, it's such an exciting experience. And you can only understand that if you're part of a fandom, or if you just love music that much. And you just... people who say, oh, it's obsessive, they've never liked things in a like they like things in a very normal way. But if you're anything like me and you're so passionate about just anything, then you understand. But if you like things at like a normal amount and you don't really think about certain things, you won't understand, and you call people obsessive. But if there's one thing that I know, if you really like something, or if you're really passionate about something, you will seem crazy to others. You will very much seem crazy to others, and people won't understand you. That's just the name of the game. People won't understand you, and that's okay. So when I think about music, and that's exactly why Album Diaries was created. It's just a place that if you're a music nerd, if you love music as much as I do, this is a very safe space for you. And just being able to talk about things like this, you know, if you had to enter my head, that's what happens. And it's so beautiful, you guys, because like an album, when a project of work is released, it's not passive anymore. Like, it's very personal, and you're led into an artist or a musician's mind and heart. And it's so beautiful. It's just so beautiful, because when you listen to an album all the way through, you don't just hear music, you actually become part of it. You become part of it. You know, the album isn't just a playlist, it becomes a portrait where you can relate and you can hear certain songs and you're like, oh my gosh, I've never thought of it in that way. And I can think of a song right now that I heard for the first time that made me think or have a different perspective, was Matilda by Harry Styles. That song, y'all, when I first heard it, I was like, what? I've never heard someone speak like that, or just hearing it from that perspective of you can grow a family on your own. Like it just speaks to volumes of like trauma and loss and grief and hope at the same time. And I've never heard it be said from that POV before. You normally hear it from the other POV of like, oh, we lost someone and like they don't come for dinners anymore, but you never really hear it from the POV of the person that left. And Matilda was from the POV of the person that left or that is distancing themselves, and it's just so touching and it's so beautiful. And I can't begin to even tell you how music and albums have shifted or changed my life. Like music has really, it's a really, really beautiful thing. I don't even know how else to say it because it really, really is beautiful. And to be honest, if we're being very honest, you can only know an artist or a musician really well is if you actually listen to their full bodies of work, not just singles, because singles aren't accurate representations of the musicians, at least in my opinion, because it's more often than not, an artist's diversity or strengths or range is shown in a random track 6 song that's in the album that maybe only the fandom will hear. That's something that I can say super confidently. It's in a song that you, a random listener, would never hear because you don't go through the music. Just a random track 6 song is super, super beautiful because, goodness, I don't think you understand, because I'm thinking of a bunch of albums right now where I'm like, if I never gave that album a chance, I would have never found that certain song in the middle. Because honestly, it be in the middle where they change up the genre, they change up the lyricism, they change up the production. It just goes crazy in the middle. When it starts from like a track 3, track 4 to track 8, things get crazy in there. And you never know because you always just look for the most common song that's playing on the radio. But can we get out of that mentality and actually dive in to those that haven't started doing that yet? I do like the rise in the fandom culture and the rise in album culture as well, because I'm seeing now on like different people's stories that they're actually taking the time to listen to music and artists, and they're rating albums and they're talking about albums and all that stuff. Like lately, I'm going to do an episode on it, but Harry Styles' new album, his 4th album came out, Kiss All the Time, Disco Occasionally, and I'm seeing it everywhere, and I love that because, okay, Harry Styles for me personally is one of my favorite artists. He's part of my top 5 if anything, and I love seeing everyone listen to the artist and them saying the more that you listen to it, the more you have like a new fave each listen. And that's so important, guys. When you listen to a body of work, like let it marinate in your ears, let it marinate, let it stick for some time. When you listen to, don't just listen to it once and then rate it and then you're done. Like actually let it marinate. Another album that I listened to where I let it sit in me and digest was Emails I Can't Send by Sabrina. Listened to it once, loved it, picked my faves, listened to it another time, and certain other songs started sticking out to me. And now one of my faves by her is Decode. That song is beautiful and like what do you mean? And that's in an album, that's not a single. So how would you discover the song if you do not listen to the album? Like, what do you mean the only thing you can tell me, like, you like an artist but you cannot tell me a song from the album, the track 5 of that album? What? Like, then how do you like the artist? That's insane. That's actually insane to me. And you're like a stan. How are you a stan? And you just know all the big songs. No, guys. Because honestly, I think it's just, don't let consumerism be a thing. Like, because it's trending and because it's on the radio, that's why you like it and that's the only song you listen to. Like, discover music on your own and actually get into it. Try to understand it. Because honestly, music is a really, really big part of emotion, and it's a really, really big part of people's lives. It's a really, really big part of people's lives because people can tell you about a certain time in their life based off of a song. Like, I think everyone can safely say, well, not everyone, but the 2000s to the 2003-4 babies can tell you about 2014, because I vividly remember 2014 because of the music, and pop was dominating. Hello. Maroon 5, Maps. Hello. That was 2014. Hello. I can still remember what songs that I was in love with and what songs came out. Summer, Calvin Harris. Hello. That is peak summer 2014. This is how we do Katy Perry. Like, I'm sorry. You can't lie to me that it has no role. You can vividly know a time based off of the music. 2016, sorry, Justin Bieber. Yeah, 2017 is also one big year for me that I remember. This is actually interesting. I think I'm going to do a deep dive into eras, because even 2017, Now or Never by Halsey was on it was platinum in my house. I'm the one. Like, what? I can vividly remember, and I can feel how it felt to be in that time. That's how nostalgic it is. But yeah, it's just like very, very important. And that is why albums still matter, because they tell stories, and they are capsules that you can go back in time and relive a memory. You know how you feel when you smell an old scent of perfume and you're like, whoa, this reminds me of a time, and you just instantly get flashbacks. It's the same for music, and no one can tell you otherwise. No one can tell you otherwise. And it's important that we bring back album culture. I would love to see more people get into that we can even discuss it and talk about it, and create a space to be free to talk about it and debate and just have very good conversations. So yeah, go listen to an album that you've been putting off, that's on your listen later or something. Go listen to it start to finish whilst you're doing something. You're cleaning, you're eating, you're studying, you're taking a little stroll. Listen to that album. You never know. You might encounter a song that you're like, this song will be in my life forever. And that's the best feeling. That is the best feeling, to listen to a song for the first time and just have it on a loop, because it's such an amazing feeling. So I'll ask you again, what album have you recently listened to start to finish? I'm your host, Namuila, and thank you for listening to the Album Diaries. Mwah. Bye.